How's it going, guys? Jake from Boatman UK here. Now in today's video I'll be covering a user and instruction guide on one of our Vulcan mini bait boats, but specifically the GPS version. So if you are looking for a basic bait boat guide on this exact same boat, I have already done one of those. You'll find that in our other videos. This one today, specifically covering the GPS, will be going through a remote guide showing you what buttons do what and how to use the remote. Of course, how to use the boat, which is pretty self-explanatory, but we'll be going through some hints and tips, and also of course covering the GPS. So the GPS on this particular boat is what we describe as full autopilot, where you can save a spot and you can ask for the boat to go to that designated save spot. As a matter of fact, you can actually save 16 of those spots, and you can go to any one of those spots at any point by pressing a button, and you can also have the boat return home. So I'll be covering how to use that and how to do all that in this video as well. But first, let's take a closer look at this bait boat.
Check this out.
Okay.
I look good.
Okay. On the street and I got my swag on.
Now, being top load rig, this means that this boat is a lot easier to use than your traditional boat. Instead of having to go in through the underside, you can just simply fold open the top door and lay your rig in from the top. Another thing is also for the size of the boat, it has excellent hopper capacity. As you can see just here, the amount of bait you can actually fit in if you wanted to. The booklet states 1 kilo. We actually believe it's more like 1.5 kilos. It's quite a bit more than our Activate boat by comparison, which is our other smaller size or compact size bait boat. You can fit quite a lot more in the Vulcan Mini. And as you can see here, it's a single press, one large hopper on the remote. Really simple to use. Okay, so before we take a look at the boat in the water and also go through the actual GPS navigation, I thought it was probably best to take a look at the remote and also just go for a brief and basic button layout guide. Here is our screen, and this screen basically contains everything we need to know with regards to information on the GPS. So essentially on here you've got all your saved locations, you've got the amount of satellites you've got your signal strength. We've also got our distance here, which is currently switched to feet, which you can switch to meters if you would prefer. We've got our battery life, so we've got B for boat, R for remote. Here we've got our hopper, so currently this animation is closed. Here we have our speed, so currently in high. Most of the time I'm using these boats in high, but you can switch speed settings. So for example, if I press this button, you will see M for medium, L for low, so that's your adjustable speed settings. And all the rest here is regarding GPS, which I'll cover in just a moment. So on our buttons here, we have, as I mentioned, top left is our speed, so that adjusts the speed. And you can do this on the fly as well, so you can do this whilst navigating the boat under GPS or just normal straight travel. You can adjust the speed. Low is very suitable for sonar, for example, so if you're towing a sonar or if you're using a sonar version of this boat, low is recommended. Of course, if you want long battery life as well, you can change the speed setting to get even more battery out of the boat. This button here on the top right, this is auto forward. So for example, if I'm going to move the boat just out into the water just a little bit, and if I press this button, you will see that that engages auto forward, which I'm just going to cancel now. Now you can press this button up to 3 times, so 1 press equals 1 minute. If you press it twice, 2 minutes. If you press it 3 times, that's 3 minutes of auto forward. This is our light button, so this turns the headlights on and off, which you probably can maybe just about see. Probably not, it's a bit bright out here at the moment. But if I press and hold the light button, it'll also turn the rear lights off entirely as well. As you can see, if I press and hold that, the rear lights are now off as well, and they also stay off whilst navigating as well. And I press and hold and they should turn back on, like so. This is our menu, so we have a hidden menu on this remote, which I will come back to, but I'm going to quickly skip past that for now. These 3 buttons here are all used for navigating through menu and also for our GPS. So left and right is self-explanatory, so this is right, and as you can see, we're now navigating through our GPS boxes by using left and right, and the tick is to confirm or to agree to something. So for example, if you're asking to navigate to a spot, there'll be a sub menu that comes up, or if you're navigating through the menu, you want to press OK to tick something, you're using this. This essentially is enter. Everything below this, minus this button, is now to do with GPS. So here is to save a home point, here is to delete a saved point, here is to save a point, here is to return home. This is your center hopper, so this is to activate and open the hopper, and you'll see if I press this button, you will see the animation up here now go to open, and that indicates that your hopper is open, so always keep an eye out for that. And lastly, this one here is to navigate, and again I will cover the GPS in just a moment. But firstly, before we move on to that, let's navigate through the menu. So this is your menu button here, these 4 little windows, and there's a variety of things in the menu that you do and don't need to know. So straight travel. Straight travel allows us to specify a select distance that we'd like the boat to auto forward in. So instead of choosing it for minutes, you can instead select a distance. Generally, I tend to keep to the minutes. And once you're done here, once you're not wanting to do anything, for example, you press the menu again, and that will return you back to the menu screen. Here we have set bow direction. Now this is quite important. This is for the little window or for the little image of the boat you see on the pre-screen, and this is just to make sure that the direction of the boat always follows, so your animation. So for example, if I go back off this and go back to the home screen like so, you will see our little animation there, and you can see the boat is facing the same way, and that's just to make sure that those sync up, just so you've got the correct orientation of the boat. It won't make any difference with anything else, it's just for that display. Here is another way that you can set home point. Of course, you can set your home point by this button here. That's a shortcut. You can do it manually that way instead if you want to. Number 4 is remote pairing. If you ever need a replacement handset, this is how you pair the handset. You don't need to worry about this right now. Number 5 is travel speed. So something that's quite cool with this particular model of boat is you can adjust your travel speed for each individual speed setting. So as they come standard, fast is set to 80%, medium set to 60%, and low is set to 40%. You can adjust this if you want. So if you want the boat a little bit faster in the fast speed setting, you can adjust that to 100%, and you do that by navigating left and right, like I mentioned, and using the tick button to confirm that's what you want to do. And now the boat will be a little bit faster than it originally was in the faster speed setting. Of course, the caveat of this means that your battery life won't be quite as long, but that's absolutely fine if you're happy to do that. And again, the speed settings you can adjust individually for each speed. So I've just adjusted high. Now if I want to adjust the medium speed, I would switch now by pressing this button to medium. I would now go into my menu, and go to travel speed. And as you can see, that's default to 60%, which I'm happy with. I'm going to leave that at 60%. And again, to get off that, if you're not wanting to adjust anything, you press the menu button again. Here, if we press menu again, we have a sub-menu. Now, the most important part of this menu is this second part, compass calibration. Now, compass calibration is rather essential to making sure the boat's always navigating and behaving itself at all times. So if I'm just going to sail this boat out, so if I'm just going to move this out of the way. Right, now that we've got the boat actually out in the water, let's return to compass calibration. Now, essentially what compass calibration does is it calibrates everything so the boat learns the water that it's on and the current conditions. Now, we only recommend to do compass calibration if you're changing location, if you're changing swim, for example. We always recommend to do it each time you visit a particular location, just to ensure that everything's behaving as it should. If we press the tick button, you will see that this now comes up with a timer, and the boat starts spinning round and round in circles, essentially learning the water it's on. Now, this can take a bit of time. It normally takes around 40 seconds in total to calibrate the compass correctly, but this just ensures that the boat is going to behave, like I say, in auto forward and under GPS. So for example, if you're getting a crosswind, it's going to ensure that the boat stays on a straight path rather than being veered and buffeted around all over the place. So we'll let this boat calibrate the compass, and we'll return in just a moment. Okay, so the compass has now done its calibration, so let's return back to the menu. And if you remember, we're in the second page of the menu, so we're going to press menu again. Now, a lot of this you shouldn't really need to worry about, but we'll go through it anyway. One of the important things that you may need to look at one day is offset adjustment. So essentially, offset adjustment is also known as yaw control or yaw adjustment. And essentially this affects the left and right navigation of the boat. So for example, if you're finding the boat is slowly veering to the left or to the right, you can go into offset adjustment and you can individually adjust the RPM of each motor. As you can see, brand new boats, so both are currently set to 0, but you can adjust this by going, for example, let's say it's veering to the right, you'd input to the left, so I'm adding 10 more RPM, 20 more RPM, and so on and so forth. And you can also do the same to the right, and as you can see, as I adjust that, it takes it out of the left. Really, really simple. But before you do that, if you are finding that your boat is veering, of course, check and make sure you've got nothing trapped in the props, because that, of course, will affect the navigation of it, and it can also interfere with it going straight. Again, now we're done with this, we're going to press menu and we're going to return back to that original screen. Here we have Navi calibration and radio configuration. Now I'm going to tell you not to worry about these just yet. You can ignore these, you don't need to go into these. Switch units is to switch between feet and meters. I personally prefer feet, and that's how you can adjust your display just up here. And again, we're done there, so we're going to press menu again. Finally, there's one more menu. As you can see, we've got 4 menus essentially, but the 4th one is to exit. This 3rd menu here, again, you do not need to worry about. The only thing I would recommend is just to learn the language. So number 4 here is in English. If for whatever reason something happens and you change the language, if you go to menu number 3, so this menu here, and go to number 4, this is how you adjust and change your language, just for whatever reason, if you accidentally end up changing it. And lastly, press it again, and we can tick exit to come back. There was one more option on there, which is something I haven't covered, which is the backlight, which will be hard to pick up in the video. But if you single press the power button whilst it's on, you can adjust the brightness of the backlight. So each single press, so you can adjust it 4 times, like so. Again, I'll just cycle through that. And that's how you can adjust the brightness of the backlight on the remote itself. Okay, so now let's cover the most important thing, which is the GPS, and let's go through how to use that. So as I was mentioning at the beginning, at the top left here is our satellite strength. Now these bait boats can actually hit up to 60 satellites, and naturally the more satellites you have, the more accurate your GPS is going to be. So under a good amount of satellites, these will actually be accurate to within 1 meter quite easily. We have 29, which is still a very reasonable amount. What I'd recommend in most cases is turn the boat on and leave it for 5 minutes before you use the GPS, just so it connects to a decent amount of satellites. Realistically, anything above 20 is going to be more than good enough to get your accuracy decent. So we've calibrated our compass, which, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, is the most important thing before we go too far. And as you can see here, I'm just navigating the boat to a spot where you can see it on the camera. Most important thing that you need to do before you do anything else is save a home point. Now you've got 2 house buttons here with the H in the middle, and that's the giveaway. One is to navigate, as you can see, the one with the arrows to navigate, and this one here with a little pin drop next to it is to save your home point. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to press and hold that. You will see start point OK, so our start point is essentially our home point, and you will see this little logo here with the green house. The green house means you've got a home point saved, and next to it there is the distance we're away from our home point. So currently it says 3 feet, give or take, because the boat is drifted a little bit, and that is our start point. So this is where the boat will always return to in the case of you asking for it to return home. Now obviously another important piece of advice is when you're actually fishing, save your home point somewhere a little bit to the left or to the right of your setup, just to make sure you're not going to drift and interfere with any of your lines. Now what we can do is we can look at navigating and saving some spots on this remote here. And as you can see, like I was mentioning earlier, we've got these little boxes left and right. We've got 1 to 16, so we can store up to 16 locations. And don't worry, you can also delete locations once you're done with them as well. So if you do fill them all, you can actually remove some and redo them. And to navigate using those boxes, we're using left and right. You'll notice box number 1 is already green, which means I've basically saved that location, and I'll go through that and show you how to do that just now. And you'll also see the P, which means position, is telling me how far away I am from that saved position. So let's sail this boat out a little bit and let's go and save a spot. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see in shot, I have sent our boat just to this little drainage tube just here, which I will circle on the video for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the spot. Now you can see spot number 1 is already saved, so I'm going to go right and save spot number 2, which, as you can see, the box is not green and we have no position indicator, meaning it's not saved. And to save a spot, you're going to press and hold this pin drop here. It says, are you sure you want to save? And again, referring to the tick button to confirm, yes, I want to save that spot. So let's say you found a spot, and now what you want to do is you want to return the boat home and you want to bait up and return back to that spot. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to assist here because this is right by the bank and I don't want the boat to hit the bank. So I'm going to just interfere slightly, and I'm now going to press this button here, which is to return home, and it says go back, and you'll notice the boat will turn around and it will start going back to our start point, which is alternatively our home point. And you'll also see on the remote here the house goes red, which means it's now returning to that point, and you'll also see the distance changing and dropping here as well as the boat slowly returns back to our original home point. Okay, so now that we've had our boat return back to the home point, let's theoretically say that I've got a rig in the boat, I've baited up, and I'm ready to go. As a moment ago, we saved section or box number 2, and I want it to navigate to number 2 because I want it to drop my rig there. To navigate is really simple. All you have to do is press this triangle or this navigation marker here on the bottom right. If I press that, as you can see, we're hovering over number 2. We've got a purple box. Using the left and right arrow, you'll see I'm hovering over number 2 there. I'm going to press that button and it now comes up with a sub menu. Essentially what this sub menu is asking you how much of the autopilot you want to kick in. This here is asking if you want to open the hopper, and this here is asking if you want it to return home. Currently both of those are set to Y, and Y means yes. If you don't want it to return home, for example, if you single press the home button, the return home button, whilst on this sub menu, it will go to N, which means no. Again, if I press it again, it will go to Y, so we can cycle through and choose if we want it to return home or not. And we can also choose whether or not we want it to open the hopper by single pressing the hopper button, and we can navigate and select. Now, in most cases, most people are going to ask it to do both, to open the hopper and then return home. But, for example, if you're fishing to a fine margin or want to be as pinpoint accurate as you possibly can be, for example, you can select no, I don't want you to open the hopper, and no, I don't want you to return home, because I will do it myself. And you can ask the boat to do most of the hard work, get into the spot, and then you can control that last little bit. In this case, I'm going to ask it to open hopper as if we're baiting up or dropping a rig, and I'm going to ask it to return home. Once you've done that, you can see that we're hovering over navigation. If you press right, you can cancel if you want. But I'm going to navigate, and I'm going to press the tick, which means confirm, and you will see now that that box now goes red, which confirms that we're navigating to spot number 2. You've got a red navigation arrow which tells you how far away it is from that spot, as well as your position marker, and again you see the home point counting away because it's getting further away. And in the background here you will see the boat navigating to our little spot. Here's the remote. I'm not doing anything at all, and as it approaches our spot, you will hear the remote beep. The lights will flash on the boat to confirm that it's reached the spot. We've just seen the animation go off for the hopper, and the boat will now turn around and it will return back to the home point again without me doing anything at all. There's no input from this remote whatsoever, and this is the feature of the full autopilot GPS that we have on the Boatman bait boats. And here it is returning home. As you can see, the counter getting closer and closer. And just there in the corner of shot, in the corner of the camera, is our boat. Now that's successfully returned to the home point. Now, like I was mentioning a moment ago, you've got 16 locations that you can store. Absolutely plenty. But if you fill every single one of them, you can delete them. And that's what this one is here. As you'll see, this one here is your save point, and this one here with the cross through it is to delete. Now, don't worry if you do accidentally press and hold it, like so, and you want to delete a point, but you've accidentally done it, it will ask you, are you sure? So you get an opportunity to correct yourself if you've pressed it by mistake. And again, with these buttons, so I am going to delete that one, for example. With these buttons, a single press does nothing. You do have to press and hold to save a point, like so, and again it'll ask you, are you sure? Yes, I am. The only button that requires a single press is the return home or the navigation button, and that will be this one to return home. If I single press it, you will see it immediately goes back, and the navigation button is also a single press. The only three that you need to press and hold are these three along here that I'm using my thumb to pick out, and that is the save home point, delete a save point, and save a spot as well. And again, to navigate through your save spots, you're using the left and right markers just here. And that pretty much covers everything you need to know on the GPS of this bait boat. So I hope this video helps display just how easy the GPS is to use on the Vulcan Mini, or just in general any of the Boatman bait boats. The GPS really is simple. Now obviously when something's new, technology related, it can seem a bit complicated and a bit intimidating, but these really are quite easy. And the beauty of it is that your GPS is all controlled and all navigated done through the handset. There's no apps or smartphones or anything like that involved. It's all on the handset there for you. And of course you do also get a user manual that covers everything as well, but us blokes, we have a tendency of not reading those. But hopefully this video helps if you do get in a spot of bother, or if you're looking to investigate and see what these are like before purchase. I hope this helps push you in that sort of right direction. Like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, I do also have a user guide for the basic version. If you have one of those models instead, take a look at those. Those basic versions are also a very good boat, just without the autopilot feature like this bait boat has. Current prices as of recording, the basic version's $299, plus £10 delivery. This GPS version is $549 plus £10 delivery also. So very, very reasonable prices. You're getting a lot for your money. Of course, my opinion is going to be biased. Look, obviously I work for Boatman, but do your homework, do your research, and I'm sure you'll see plenty of good things. If there's anything else you'd like to see or anything I've missed, any questions you have regarding this bait boat or another bait boat that we offer, feel free to ask below and I'll try and help you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching and take care.